Okay, so after Microsoft's Windows 11 unveil event, maybe you decide that you want to give it a shot, that be it in a virtual machine, on your dual boot, or even on your main machine. But you've heard the only way to get access to it is with the Microsoft Windows Insider program. So you head into the Windows Insider program, and maybe it tells you that your system isn't compatible, or in my instance, it first goes to me that I need to enable more diagnostics information. But the thing about Windows 10 is that it already logs quite a lot of information about you. Microsoft now want you to opt into even more data, and specifically, the first thing it says to you is that it will send information directly to Microsoft about the websites that you are browsing. So I'm going to have to give that a hard pass. So let's just say you still want to get a copy of this ISO file to maybe run it in a virtual machine or something like that. But what you can do is that to avoid downloading the leak install and get yourself the official beta, you can possibly Google this term. Now I don't condone piracy, but maybe by Googling this term you will be able to find an ISO. Ignore this link, this link's crap. Maybe a pirate would click on this link and download this file, I don't know. But let's just say you somehow got yourself a copy of the Windows 11 ISO. Because you can't use the official Windows USB maker, what you want to do is Google Rufus and give that a download. So I've got Rufus here, and of course you're going to need some sort of USB drive. So I've got a 32GB USB drive. Now you're going to want something that's at least 8GB or bigger, and you're simply just going to open up Rufus, select your drive, select your ISO on the select option, leave this all as standard, and hit start. So you're going to want to head into your BIOS. So this is going to be different for every motherboard, but the main thing you want to do is make sure you have your TPM chip enabled. So if you have any somewhat recent PC, you will have a TPM chip. It is just often disabled by default. So we're just going to head into settings, security, trusted computing, and make sure that this is on. Now the first time I did this, it said no device could be found, but once I rebooted, it did detect a TPM 2.0 device. So you want to make sure this is enabled. Apart from this, there is nothing you really need to change if your Windows 10 install is already working. I did think you needed secure boot on, but I just tried it without secure boot and it did work. So it seems that all you need on is TPM. If you don't have TPM, then the installer will not work. So let's get Windows 11 installed. Right, so now you should be in the Windows installer. It looks a lot like the Windows 10 installer, which looks a lot like the Windows 7 installer, and you should be able to just set everything up like you would expect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my NVMe drive, because I haven't actually moved my Windows 10 installation to my NVMe drive yet. So I'm going to try and install Windows 11 in there just for now. Let's just let it install. Okay, you can see here that the install is now complete. Windows 11 does look a lot different than Windows 10. Let's just head through the setup. And we're in Windows 11. So you can see here that my Windows 11 is activated. Now the install process, as you saw, was actually quite simple and quite straightforward once you had that TPM stuff set up. Now the installer, while it looks a lot better than previous Windows installers, I was not impressed with what it asked you to do. It kept pushing things like integration of your Microsoft account. It kept wanting to hand over a lot of data, and it kept pushing things like trials for Office software, which I didn't really like. I don't really like this direction that Microsoft was going in. But anyway, here we're on Windows 11. You can see it's pretty much as Windows 10 with a UI overhaul. Here we have the dock, taskbar, and you can see here that connectivity and sound are in one unified panel, as you would see in iOS, which is now in macOS. Another thing which is kind of like macOS is the fact that everything is so rounded, as we saw in the latest release of macOS beta. But anyway, here is Windows 11. I was going to say this is going to be your next version of Windows, seeing as Microsoft is seemingly wanting to restrict Windows 11 to something like 8th generation or newer processors. Windows 10 might actually be your last Windows. But anyway, there's probably a good way to get around the restriction Microsoft puts in. That is if they do actually enforce having such a new processor in Windows 11. My PC here has a Skylake processor, which is quite powerful, and it is a couple years old, but there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. It's not going to be supported in Windows 11. If Microsoft doesn't change their mind, that is something of concern. But anyway, I don't recommend running this beta as your main operating system because it is a beta and it is no doubt going to have some bugs. But I do recommend giving it a shot, letting me know what you think about Windows 11, or even giving some feedback directly to Microsoft. And thank you for watching. Also, I think this is the most important improvement in Windows 11. The recycle bin is now forward facing.